Hey everyone, welcome again to another episode of the FitFam podcast. As usual, this is Miss Natural Olympia Hilary,
And this is Doug, the formulator.
and we have a very special podcast this time. It's not only with some of the world's leaders in a specific area, but they're also close friends and a part of the movement that we so deeply care about.
Yeah, for sure. Two of my favorite people for sure. So
And we'll just get into
let's
it.
go.
It's Denny and Diana Keikos, and they are definitely the leaders within the natural movement of bodybuilding and have been for decades. We refer to Denny as the godfather of natural bodybuilding because, in all reality, everything centers around him and the decisions that he made at one point in his life
Yeah.
that now has just transcended,
Yeah.
sport.
I like that you're already getting a little emotional when you talk about this, right? And you don't always get emotional, but
Yeah.
sometimes when we talk about natural bodybuilding, it just brings it out in you. So,
Well,
and I
people
think
that
Jenny brings
understand.
it out in you.
Yeah, Denny does, and Diana, and that's who's also with us, Diana. And Denny's the world founder and president of the Natural Bodybuilding Organization that we'll get into. It's called the INBA PNBA.
Mhm.
But Diana is also the CEO, which together, they're a dynamic duo. And welcome to the Fit Fam
Wow, it's
podcast.
a pleasure to
It's a
be
pleasure to
here.
be here.
Thanks for inviting us on the
Thank you.
Fit Fam.
Awesome. So excited. So, Denny and Diana, how, let's start with when. How long ago did you form the INBA PNBA?
Well, I started in 1988, and I was at that time promoting with the NPC for 3 or 4 years. We had great shows. We had 3 or 4 shows that were doing really well. The only thing is the move at that time, steroids starting to get so big, and women would start using steroids too. And the movement was getting to be a little bit too much, and I didn't feel that's where the sport should go. I'm Greek, and I was back from the old days from the Olympics over there. Greek. I was 50 miles away from Olympia, where the Olympic Games came from. Anyway, so for me, it was a natural. It was supposed to be healthy, a sport, aesthetic, pleasing sport. And I did the first NPC natural show, which I was told that I would not a good idea, but I did it anyway. It was the best competition. We had we had 100 and close to 200 competitors, 30 of which failed the polygraph test. At the time, we had polygraph tests, but it wasn't a 10-minute polygraph. I had 3 polygraph workers, 3 of them for 3 days, testing everybody with an hour to an hour and a half. So it was really, truly a tested show in polygraph, not those 10, 15-minute thing that they do now. And so like I said, about I think 20, 30 failed the test. And then we did the show. We started, it was so great. We had a sellout where we had over a 1,500 audience.
Traditional pre-judging and
Yeah,
break and
yeah.
night show.
Night show started until 3 o'clock in the morning. Because it was so,
Those days.
yeah. And because I wanted also everybody to get a chance to get on stage. I wanted that. It's very important. There were people coming from everywhere. They were from New York. They were from Brazil. They were from Canada. I mean, it was unbelievable. At that time, there weren't that much natural shows. And so when they heard it was a natural show, they all wanted to be part of it. And it's a great thing. And a lot of the people that competed those days are still competing with me right now.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, from that on, I've then the NPC didn't really want me there to be in a natural show. So I left. I started my own organization. I started the ABA, Amateur Bodybuilding Association, and the professional PNBA, professional level. When I did the PNBA show, and that was a 1990, and that was the Universe, and it was at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center, which is one of the best theaters in Southern California. We had people from Brazil. We had people from everywhere. It was a great competition. And then people start coming up. Because I used to own a Gold's Gym, so my ads, my posters and stuff went to a lot of Gold's Gyms, and people saw that. People came from Australia, New Zealand. New Zealand was the first one we came for international with a big team, Peter Hardwick.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, slowly, the other countries came in. And so at one time, about a couple of years later, Peter Hardwick and myself were in at this little restaurant having lunch. And we said, there's got to be something different name to put on because we're so international now. There's so many countries coming in. So I took a pen and I drew on a paper napkin a circle stating that, the globe, and then I put INBA on top. And that's the logo we started with. And we went with that International Natural Bodybuilding Association.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You know something,
Well, it didn't always start out like that. It didn't have the global, and then we just started growing and accruing partners all over the world, and then we made it INBA Global. So
That's awesome.
You know something that, but to tell you this, I have traveled all over the world, all 6 continents. I'm everywhere. I've been to Australia almost 15 times, New Zealand 5 or 6 times. I've been to Europe many countless times, India. I've been to Asia. I've been to Japan. I've been everywhere. But anyway, so to get people together to work together as a team. At first, in the 80s, when I went to Europe and I went to the Eastern countries, it's funny. I'm going to tell you something kind of funny here. So I'm talking to gym owners and people, other promoters and stuff. I said, what are we going to natural? Natural is the thing now. Everything's coming in. At that time, natural wasn't into Europe yet. So I was trying to promote it there. And this is Danny, like a protein, a jar of protein costs us $90. Steroids, I cost me like $6. I can get it for $6. So
what do we do?
But yeah, you know what I mean? So
one's poison.
Yeah. So I'm trying to explain to them, that's the way it is. But anyway, now Eastern countries are the biggest promoters for natural movement. Unbelievable. Hungary gets 200 or 300 competitors in these shows. Germany, Bulgaria, Poland, all these countries that we're in. We're in 27 countries in Europe, right now. We're over 70 countries already so far. So, we grew it, by me going everywhere and talking to people. We have something that we work together as teams, all thinking about testing, proper, good testing by the IOC, the Olympic standards. And we use WADA testing labs.
World Anti-Doping Agency.
So we really been doing good.
It's like-minded people with a vision, for the sport, like you all are. So it all creates our global family, the INBA PNBA global family.
Yeah, and I will say, we've in the past competed with a few different organizations, all of them claiming to be natural organizations. And I will say, I've had different people say things about bodybuilding and the culture and how backstage it's just nasty and they don't like it. And I've experienced that with some other organizations, but I truly feel like with the INBA, PNBA, it's different. And there's very little of that nastiness backstage. I really feel like a lot of the competitors that I step on stage with are friends. Genuinely, if I'm not going to win, I hope you win. And, I feel like that's very different from other organizations.
Yeah. And other sports too.
And other sports.
Yeah, that's true. And, I think for a lot of the FitFam followers might not know what we're talking about when we talk about other organizations and that. So maybe let me lay the foundation. There's major organizations that aren't drug tested called the NPC, National Physique Committee, and then the pro version called the IFBB. And in our world, the natural world, what Denny and Diana started was the INBA, the same as the NPC, and the PNBA, which is the equivalent of the IFBB, except we're drug tested. And so that's the understanding. And when we're talking about people, you might think of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ronnie Coleman, and those people are part of the IFBB, the non-drug tested. And they had some women like that Danny was talking about that once they started getting on the heavy steroids too, that didn't look like women anymore, the Bev Francises and people like that. It was right during that 80s movement. And then in the natural world, you don't get as many of the big names like the Arnold and that, but you get those athletes that truly are on another level of Olympic caliber because they're drug tested. they have that great life expectancy because they're doing things right, and they're working at many times at a higher level because they have to really control their diet because they're not doing the controlling with drugs,
Right.
right? And so people like Philip Ricardo, Rob Terry, Alondra, Hillary, Veronica, there's many that we know the names, but the world might not yet on the big stage because they are not in that drug world. And
Mhm.
it's like the Olympic athletes we hear about every 4 years.
Right.
And we didn't even know who they were until, that week before the
Yeah.
Olympics. It's the same type of thing, but that's just kind of the difference between
Right.
both organizations.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Diana, will you tell us a little bit about WADA testing and
Mhm.
the difference between what the INBA PNBA does with testing and what others claim to do?
Okay. Well, the INBA PNBA is World Anti-Doping Agency, and the acronyms are WADA, and we're WADA compliant. We are not a WADA signatory, but in compliancy, that means that our athletes must follow the World Anti-Doping Agency prohibited list that comes out every single year. They release it in September, and it goes into effect the first of the following year. It's very detailed information, and for some athletes, it's not in layman terms. So Doug
Right.
helps us out a lot with that because he can put it into layman terms for me and for others. But it's our prohibited list, and it's transparent in that you can go find it on the website. We don't have our own concocted, prohibited list for the INBA PNBA. It's global, it's, worldwide, and that's what your major sport leagues are using and abide by for testing. So our expectation and what we've conditioned our athletes for testing is that you have to be WADA compliant, and you have to be compliant with the WADA prohibited list. So over the years, it's taken hold, and athletes know that we're very serious about what we do with our
Yeah.
testing protocols. It's the gold standard. We can only use WADA accredited labs, and there's 2 of them in the United States. And fortunately, over the decades, we have a great relationship with the SMRTL, which is located up in Utah. And all of our samples go there every single weekend. So it's a collection process. I'm responsible for overseeing collection and control of the samples, chain of custody. And once they get to the lab, I'm responsible to protect the confidentiality of the athletes and to make sure we work through whatever the issues may be. Some of them are pretty serious, and there's not much to work through. It just goes right to the Hall of Shame, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's great that the athletes are aware. It helps them to consider themselves, as we do, as Olympic level athletes, because it's all the same testing. It's an Olympic year. The Paralympics just started. We just finished the regular Olympics. Like Doug said, you only hear about it every 4 years, and it gets really busy during that time. But to bring awareness to it, and I feel our athletes know about it. And they should be educated in what the testing requirements are. So after chain of custody, results management, that's me and the athlete in the lab going through all that. If there's no adverse analytical findings, no prohibited substances, athlete's good to go. So if they hear from me, that means there's really something wrong, and we have to get to the bottom of it. If it's drastic and it's clear, obviously, with the levels and what the prohibited substances might be, then we work through it. Athletes have an opportunity to test their B sample at their cost, and results from that, and then it goes on our Hall of Shame. And again, that's INBA PNBA's transparency. If people fail our tests, they're going to be outed on our website, naturalbodybuilding.com, Hall of Shame, and that's for everybody to see. And we did that so that athletes can't federation or organization hop, and
Right.
there have been some that do, and other
It's-
federations
yeah.
take them, and you can see
It's
that
sad. It's sad about
they're
that.
banned for
They spend
life.
so much
But
time and money, and still they don't accept
so
it.
that's kind of how that whole process rolls out, if you will. And it's protocol, and it's serious, and we take it very serious, and we let the athletes know how serious It is. And we do it week in and week out, all the
Yeah.
way straight through to the natural Olympia.
I remember hearing, I think I was in passing and somebody was discussing their their potential hormone replacement and what they were going to need to do. And it was a woman and she was trying to explain, no, I need it to just feel normal. And I loved your response. You said something like, well, your health is most important. So whatever you have to do with your doctor, then you do that. Just know that there are prohibited substances. And if you go that route, and fail a drug test, you can't compete here. But your health is most important. So
Yes.
do what
You're-
you have to do.
Exactly.
all
Your
about health.
it's your
It's
quality of
all about
life.
health,
But
yeah.
with testosterone, any TRT, HRT, whatever medications, if that's what you need for your quality of life, there's
Yeah.
nobody telling you can't take it. It's
Yeah.
just you can't compete in a league that tests.
And I love that.
And we
I,
happen to test at the highest level. So yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
I've
live
had
without
this-
it. Go ahead and take it.
yeah, I've
So
had this conversation with multiple women and them trying to defend what they've had to do and me trying to give the same statement as you. Great. This just isn't the organization for you. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Mhm.
So let me, for maybe some of the audience, help them understand a little bit why this is so important to our life, but also, in my opinion, should be important to their life.
yeah,
Okay.
please.
Because when we're
Absolutely.
talking about WADA, I plan each year the day the new research or results come out, and to be able to look at them, see what's going to be banned this year, what's be open. And the reason there's a correlation between this conversation and the public watching is this, is that one of the absolute leading causes of disease, leading causes of death, especially since COVID,
Mhm.
is the blood clumping together. Okay. And these are proteins that make the blood cells clump together that make your body more susceptible to disease. And we have like 4 talks on that coming up at the super seminar that we'll talk about in a minute. But the key is that when you take certain substances into your body, whether it be processed foods, whether it be drugs itself, or anabolic agents like steroids, even TRT or HRT, a lot of people say, well, I don't take steroids, I'm just taking these things for health. It's still a steroid.
Yeah.
And but those substances, even TRT, HRT, and a lot of the even prescription drugs, prednisone and that, what they do is they bind the blood cells together, and it makes you at a higher risk for disease, and it works against the longevity factor in the body. So one of the main things we do in the natural movement with all of the holistic doctors across the nation, with the public, with the natural athletes, is help them understand these are the principles that you need to follow for longevity, for quality of life. And the substances that people take that are on the banned list and should be on all of our banned list actually cause disease. And
Right.
so these natural athletes that we see, like Hilary and a lot of the great athletes that go to the extreme, right? We see them on stage and they're at the pinnacle, the extreme level of health and fitness for their sport. It doesn't mean that we all need to look like that, but we need to be living that lifestyle so that it helps with our quality of life and our longevity. You're just the extreme example of that. That's fun to watch to get inspired.
Exactly.
that.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a couple of the shows, and both of them are coming up this year that are favorites of ours. And we'll talk about the difference this year. But one of our favorite shows since we started competing, we meaning Hilary and me watching, but but Hilary competing from the very beginning was an event you held in Las Vegas at the Rio Hotel called the Team USA Championships. And man, we were just blown away. We fell in love with that show from the beginning. Tell us a little bit even about that. We don't even know much of that history.
All right. So here at the INBA, PNBA, we have an overall team concept so that athletes do not have to be one and done. There's a lot of opportunities. So what we want people our athletes to do is compete and then get their qualification and come to Team USA so they can be part of the official Team USA. Now, don't forget, we're global. So every other country, just like the Olympics, is holding their qualifiers from regionals to nationals to worlds, what have you. And then you make the team. So that's exactly what we do here in the INBA, PNBA. I do not believe that there's anything like it in the industry for the athletes. So obviously, like Hilary, that's like her show. I mean, I've had athletes here. It's like, I can't miss it. Team USA, that's my show. But it's
Right.
also the qualifier for Natural Olympia. So what we want to do is make sure that the athletes get their qualifications in and then come to Team USA. And then from there, they'll be qualified to go to the Natural Olympia. So it's the team concept. It's to help prepare the elite natural athletes of the world. And here it's nationally, us, Team USA, and to get them to the pinnacle, to the Natural Olympia.
Well, I
And
love that. And one little comment in there is that I'm kind of a freak about natural, and so a lot of people might not watch this, but we love watching the Olympic trials before the Olympics. And this
yeah,
year it
leading up.
was so fun to watch that. And for me, that's what Team USA is these are the athletes qualifying for the USA team that represents USA in the world.
That's right.
Absolutely. And with, the qualifiers all through the season, we get to see the athletes coming up. We get to see the new blood, if you will, coming up, new talent that's coming up. And we have to direct them, properly into where they can go and what their opportunities are. So, it's the top athletes from all over the world qualifying, and all countries prepare. And from Team USA, which is for, the national athletes here in the United States, their next stop would be the pinnacle, the Natural Olympia. And there it's completely international. All the teams from the different countries
The uniform.
in uniforms with flags, so prideful. And we're here in Las Vegas. I mean, we get to host it. And you have athletes coming that have qualified in their countries that have probably never left their city, their village, their country. And they're just starstruck with the fact that they get to come to Las Vegas and step on the Natural Olympia stage and be celebrated. And we celebrate them there. And a lot of them, when they get back, they're, the superstars, for their country. And very, very much like the Olympics. It's a 4-day commitment. Once we get to the Natural Olympia, check-ins are Thursdays. It's kind of a meet and greet. It's family reunion for the INBA PNBA global family. Everybody just pictures and, catching up and what have you. And we're going to try to run the pro press conference on Thursday night because we have a little bit more time. Friday all day is amateurs. Saturday all day is pros. And then Sunday morning, we showcase the pros with the autograph signing, those big long tables and Sharpies, and the fans and I call it family, friends, and fans get to get up close and personal with the stars, the pros, and there's amateurs there too, and sign posters. And then we do our special awards and our inductions to the Hall of Fame, which, Doug, you're a Hall of Fame inductee from a couple of years ago. And Danny and I are Hall of Fame inductees. And we're going to be inducting like 5 more again. So, and then we give all these special awards. Danny has all these awards that he just loves to give. They're kind of bonus awards. And then we close for the season. So that's the sad part. And we get on for the next year. So the next season.
Yeah. So let's talk about the USAs this year, because we are so excited about, not just that show, but maybe even turning it into something bigger, that we decided to collaborate this year. And we're so pumped about this. And, a little bit of the background, our family loves expos and everything fitness, and we've gone to many.
Yeah, we've been to, the Arnold, we've been to Mr. Olympia, we've been to just the Fit Expo, and I know you
Mhm.
guys have
Yeah.
been to the Fit Expo, and our kids have always loved it. And so the thought of being able to combine what we love with natural bodybuilding and the PNBA and the expo fill where people can kind of, I don't know, see the greatest, newest things and to make it natural, because that's the difference with some of these expos that you go to. You're dealing with all kinds of synthetics and,
Mhm.
banned substances, and our goal was to create something natural all around.
Yeah. And so once a year, we have something called a super seminar, and it's been in the past just for doctors. But this year, we've opened it up to where we're bringing the top thought leaders on the planet, Dr. Ben Hardy, David Meltzer, along with the top doctors, where we teach the doctors and the public how to live naturally in an unnatural world, right? How
Mhm.
to deal with the synthetics, what to do naturally before you go on TRT and that. There's some people need to be on. I've got that, but so many people jump to these things way too soon. We were just at Lake Powell, and a young 20
Yeah,
something year
really
old
young.
kid said that his doctor put him on testosterone at like 23 years of age because his testosterone was slightly down. And I was blown away. And so we're going to have talks, 40 different speakers talking the expo at the same time as the Team USA championships, separate rooms, obviously, but we're excited because, as families, we come to watch.
Yeah, I think sometimes people bring their families to an event and they're excited to watch their family and a few other divisions. And then
Mhm.
they're like, okay, something else. So I love the concept of them being able to come in, watch their family, watch maybe bodybuilding or bikini, the big ones, and then come over to the other side and walk through the expo and also be able to hear some of these great minds. I think it's going to be this fantastic weekend of just natural, uplifting information and things. So,
Perfect. Sounds perfect.
Yes, it does, and I'm excited about it.
We're just a hallway, only a hallway separates us.
I'm excited.
So,
That's
And
great.
it
yeah.
is. That's great because a lot of times at the
Hmm.
events, the bodybuilding shows, people will ask, well, how do these athletes do that? How do they, get that level of fitness and hardness, especially for females as they get older, and do it naturally? We thought it wasn't possible. Well, people will then be able to come into the classes about on protein, on nutrition, on,
Good.
the right
Yes.
supplements and exercise, and learn that so that maybe they can step on stage if they'd like to at some
Well,
time.
and something that's a little off topic, but really cool is that a lot of the women that win in pro figure and some of these other divisions are older women. I mean,
Mhm.
I think Alondra is almost 10 years older than I am,
Yeah.
and she can come in and win figure like nobody's business. And so it's such a testament of living the natural lifestyle
But
and
that's
living
it.
it for a long time.
Mhm.
Yes, natural, it's
It's a
a
lifesaver.
lifesaver there because you can compete in any age group. We have age groups
Yeah.
from 60, 70, even 80 years old, but because they're doing the natural way, they're not losing their muscle. They're not taking drugs to get big and then lose it all and come back and do it.
Yes.
This is
And
all
still super competitive
correct.
and super healthy. And,
Yeah,
that's the whole inspiration
Somebody
behind it all.
because you can
for sure.
qualify.
Absolutely. And so September 26th through the 29th is the OHS Super Seminar. The Team USA Championships is Saturday, the 28th, but there's a
Mhm.
qualifier on Friday, right, called the
Yep.
Las Vegas Naturals for athletes that still need to qualify for
Yep.
USA.
Yeah.
That would be
So
their last opportunity to qualify to
Compete.
compete in Team USA the next day.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
highly recommend if you're an athlete, if you haven't pulled the trigger yet, pull that trigger right now to come. And if you're wanting to be an athlete or wanting just to improve your health naturally, pull the trigger, come. We'll have the links below to the INBA to sign up for the show. And also for those of you who want to sign up for the super seminar. and come get a feel. And I think that once you're there, you're going to say, oh my gosh, this is a great world. And you'll want to come back for the Olympia in November.
For sure. And I think this is an amazing show to come to for anybody that has been interested in just watching a bodybuilding competition
True.
and what it's all about. This one is, it's like the big before the biggest. And so Team USA is a perfect time to come at the Rio. What's funner than Las Vegas? So
Well, what's funny is that we have a lot of doctors, and half of them are like, oh, Vegas, awesome. And others is like, Vegas. And so we're like, look, fly in, drive to the Rio, never touch the strip, drive back and go home, or enjoy that. Like the best thing about the Rio, it's the best of both worlds.
Yes.
It's true. It's true.
True.
Very nice. Now they revamped it too. They've got all new
All
rooms and
remodeled, and I'm
remodeling
excited
everything.
for that.
Yeah, very nice.
As we close, would like to hear from both of you, just in closing, just a little bit about the passion you have for being natural and what you've seen over the decades as far as people that have followed the route of going natural versus maybe those that haven't, and just kind of your take on the world that we live in.
Well, the natural athletes, especially one of our pillars is loyalty. And we have handfuls and handfuls of athletes from the start up until now. And you can just see the way they live their life. So that's one major, perk, I guess, to living the lifestyle. And we've had athletes that have used the INBA, PNBA as a stepping stone, and have gone on to do other things, left the natural side, which I don't get at all. But that happens too. And they're just out there looking for something more. And unfortunately, that comes with, a high price too. So the athletes are fantastic. The tribe, the community, the following, the friends that we have, our volunteers, our team, our sponsors, such as yourself, OHS and Gains in Bulk, and so many others. It just all comes together and clicks and makes it all possible and gives this playing field for these athletes that are truly natural, that want to compete, have this forum to be able to do it and be part of something bigger in a hobby that they really enjoy with their competitive spirit, and still enjoy the perks of the global family.
That's really cool.
Well, let me tell you, it's unbelievably the way we're expanding. It's unbelievable. It's just going everywhere. We have even China. We have 20 shows in China. We have 10 shows in Japan now, Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia, you name it, we're in it. In Iran, we have Iran,
Saudi Arabia,
Pakistan, we have
Azerbaijan. I mean, all these countries.
Everywhere.
It's just that's finally, I think we've turned the curve. We've
and to see that we test properly, we have good rules, we work together as a team, we all have the same vision of having natural movement, natural athletes live long and do the right thing for the athletes. And that's where we all meet at the Natural Olympia. But before that, you got to get to Team USA.
Yeah,
to be part of it.
Yeah.
There we played your national anthem at the Olympia. It's fantastic feeling. It's just like the Olympics. It's the Olympics for bodybuilding.
Poster here, so we'll take
really
the group photo that you see there, and I'm sure Hilary and everybody's in.
Oh, yeah, everybody's in there.
Everybody's asking me when are we taking the photo? When are we taking the photo? So we'll do that first off, and then this is athletes, like I said, being part of something bigger in their sport and their lifestyle and their hobby. And a lot of professionals in this industry, I mean, you name it, from teachers to chiropractors to doctors, nurses, law enforcement, firefighting, military. I mean, there's too many to really name, but at some point in their life, they had a competitive spirit and maybe not competing in their sport anymore, but they can do this. They can do this. And those athletes inspire other people to come along and say, I can do this too. People starting in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, so.
And there's so many categories too.
It's really positive.
Yeah, it isn't just bodybuilding, it's bikini, sports model, body quest, figure,
physique,
classic physique. There's
Yeah.
so many,
It's so amazing.
so whatever you
see
want to
the
get-
young men competing in classic physique. I mean, and they really get it, and they're doing the
Yeah.
poses, and you
Yeah.
know, they're going back to that golden era. You know, they love it.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
I love classic.
Well, thanks so much for being with us. I think that if nothing else, the depth of the passion that you two have for natural health, natural bodybuilding really has come through today. And I wish everyone could see the years and the decades of work when, it's not easy to live natural in an unnatural world. And the forces of the unnatural world have come upon you guys in huge levels. You've weathered the storms, you've stayed strong, you haven't given in. And it is such a testament to grit, to continuously chewing when
Mhm.
it's tough. And we're inspired by you guys all the time.
Absolutely.
And it means a world to us. It helps us in our world to stay strong also. And I think
Yeah.
together, the combination of the holistic health world with natural fitness and health and athletes is such a great combo. And we're excited to showcase that at the Team USA's in Vegas.
Amen.
Awesome. Our pleasure. The message is strong. What you guys do, what we can do, bring people together for health and wellness and fun,
Yeah.
being part of something, like I
Absolutely.
said, part of something bigger for your sport.
Absolutely. Well,
it.
thank you so much. As
Our
always,
pleasure.
this is Miss Natural Olympia Hilary.
And this is Doug the Formulator.
Keep chilling.
Thank you. Thank you
See
so
ya.
much. Bye now.
Bye, guys.